So recently, our church started integrating multi-tracks into our weekend services. I don't use them for every song at this point. Typically, I use them for the first couple songs, and then we have the freedom later in the worship set at this point to do a little bit more flowing. And because I don't have an Ableton operator on staff or even a volunteer that would have the time right now to be able to flow with Ableton live, we trigger the tracks from start to finish in Logic Pro. So I'm going to show you my process of bringing the tracks into my template and getting them ready for the weekend. So I've already uploaded or downloaded my tracks. Here we've got the song Jesus We Love You by I believe it's by Bethel Music, and it's off the We Will Not Be Shaken album. I've downloaded all the keys, not all the keys. I've downloaded just a variation. I think they come in six different keys. I've downloaded. Looks like I've downloaded that one on accident, but I've downloaded four different keys. So I'm going to open Logic Pro, and I've set up a template. So I'm going to go File New from Template. For my church, actually for this particular sanctuary that I'm in right now, it's called Fellowship Upper Valley Main Campus. In this template, you'll see I've got about 25 tracks here, um, and we start with the click, then the guide. This is actually a mono room, and our soundboard is actually pretty full, and so I just use the click and guide out the left side of the interface, and then the drums and all the instruments actually come out just a mono channel. It's not ideal, but again, we're not using a lot of these tracks live because we won't use the drums, or if we do, I'll just high pass filter them and do something kind of at more as an effect. But our youth room in the same facility, actually, we send about 7 or 8 tracks out of interface. So we actually sub out the drums and percussion, and then the bass and synth bass and the electric guitars and keyboards and everything to their own tracks, as many as we can, because we have more input space over in that room than we do our main sanctuary. So I'm going to drive here to our media. Again, I've downloaded 4 different keys of this song. This weekend I'm going to actually sing it in A. I don't have a high tenor voice, so I have to sing usually the lowest option they have in these tracks, which is actually pretty good for a lot of the guys in our church. You want the guys getting to sing, and if you're in those Tomlin ranges, a lot of times guys have to sing way under, or they have to just really scream it out. And I've found that for our particular congregation, we do better with keys several steps down from the radio keys. So, at least for the guys. So I'm just going to start dragging this stuff in. I will time compress this. Some of these multi-tracks have just tons of stuff in it. This is kind of a simpler song as far as the arrangement. So I'm just going to start dragging stuff in right to track 1. One thing I do like to do is I'll go back here to multitracks.com, and I'll click on the song that I downloaded and check and see what tempo it's in. This gives me options in Logic to be able to use my click track. It gives me options to be able to rearrange the song if I want to do another chorus, cut and paste and fly things back and forth. So it'll usually say, okay, so it's a 58, it's a 6/8 time signature and a 58 beats per minute. So we'll go back here and set that up. So let's go ahead and show my time signature here. Let's see here. We'll make that 6/8. Okay, and we'll change this to, I think it was 58. Okay, make sure you do that at the beginning of the song. If not, it will put an automation point in, and you'll start in 120 and then end up in 58 somewhere down the line. So make sure your cursor's at 0 there. I'm going to continue dropping these tracks in because I'm extremely attention deficit, and I've already done 3 things since I started doing that. As I go here, I'm going to delete tracks I don't need from my template. It'll just clean up my session a little bit. See it there. Let's close this window. Take a nice look here and just kind of play back.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Like to solo things out a little bit. Go ahead and make the waveforms a little larger. Logic Pro here.
Verse.
So there's your ambience. Let's go ahead and look at where electric comes in.
Chorus.
Yeah, classic ambient, delayed guitar, beautiful. These tracks are nice because if you have like a youth band or you want to teach a song, you can, or you don't have a bass player, for example, and say you have a limited worship team, you can actually bring a lot of these into the mix for the weekend. I like to bring them down a little bit, especially if I have a strong guitar player, strong bass player. I'll just mute the bass. I will use the electrics with my live electric players and the keyboards usually, just because the ambience and the loops that they're using at these churches are just usually phenomenal. Sometimes I'll mute the backgrounds because, especially because I'm using a lower key, and when they get transposed from multitracks.com, a lot of times they can sound really, even though they use good algorithms to transpose them, they can sound a little bit weird. So if you get too far from the original key. And that sounds pretty nice actually on this track. Now I want to make a note, let you know that sometimes I actually will automate. I'll go into automation mode and do some volume automation on this stuff if I feel like it gets too fat in the middle of the mix. It can just kind of, because I am mixing mono, it can just kind of overtake the output. And I've had like trouble hearing with my in-ears. My drummers have had trouble hearing just if the mix gets just too crazy. I will sometimes just go in and drop an automation point in and just kind of listen through, and it takes a few more minutes. But for example, if we were listening to this keyboard here, you know, and that's going to allow my worship team to actually build more dynamics into what they're doing. So I might have my keyboard player on a track like this playing another keyboard pad or going to a big piano part, and it's just going to create space in the mix. So you know, I might go through and do that. You can do that in just a matter of a few minutes usually, actually during your rehearsal, or you can do it before if you do a pre-rehearsal before your team gets there. So I am ready for this. I'm going to unsolo that, and I'm going to save this on the same hard drive that I saved my tracks to, and I can just move that hard drive around to different computers that have Logic Pro on them. So thanks for watching.